What's up, guys? Welcome to an all-new episode of Convos on the Pedicab. I'm here with my good friend, 10th Planet Purple Belt, and world traveler, Scott Richeson. We're bundled up right now. It's like 35 degrees Fahrenheit. Climate change my ass. Jesus Christ. In the middle of Texas, for that matter.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess since I brought up climate change, that's probably a good topic to
segue.
There? Yeah, let's talk about climate change.
Okay, cool.
Real or fake, Scotty?
Real. Absolutely real. 100% real. Yeah, I mean, obviously, you still have your deep, like, polar plunges or whatever, where, the Arctic air pushes down south and, we get something like this, but this is weather, this isn't climate. Yeah, one of the things, so, you talk about, like, places I've traveled. I've been to Iceland, and we got to, me and my wife, we got to go out and go hiking onto a glacier. And when you get to the top of the glacier, you look back towards the ocean, and they have, like, these markers. And the markers point to basically they mark every decade of where the glacier was, right? And I think the farthest out is like 1960, and it's way out there, man. I mean, I don't know exactly how to, like, basically to explain, like, the glacier's fucking huge, man. Like, like it's this massive piece of ice, and you're just like, how is it possible if there's not some planetary level thing going on that there's that much ice that's melted that's not coming back?
Yeah. I mean, I understand the whole premise behind climate change denial.
Okay.
Like when a bunch of woke billionaires are telling us that we have to reduce our carbon footprint, and, taxes wind up skyrocketing as a result of it, and then they're all taking private jets and then flying thousands of miles a month on a private jet to lecture us about climate change and income inequality and, do philanthropy. Like, I could definitely understand, like, the skepticism.
Sure.
Like when, like, our mayor took a private jet to Cabo.
Right.
In the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah.
And environmental destruction is how you spread pandemics.
For sure.
So it's like, you're doing that. It kind of makes you wonder, like, or it can make somebody who's, like, not as well researched on this definitely say, well, this just seems like more of an agenda than an actual issue.
Right. But, I mean, the thing is that besides how the billionaires may move around or whatever or things like that, like, it doesn't really change the fact that this is real and that it's a threat. And that, CO2. So I've been reading this book about extinctions, really, about the past 6 extinctions that happened on the planet Earth since the beginning, and every one of them are the result. They have many different causes, right? But every one of them is the result of the CO2 going up or the O2 going down. And basically that's what causes these deep freezes or causes the Earth to heat up and the sea levels to rise. So, I mean, we are definitely putting out a massive, massive amount of CO2, right? More CO2 faster than that's ever been put out before by by volcanic activity or any other way that CO2 is put out, right? Like, for instance, one of the other ways that there was a mass extinction was actually when plants came up out of the ocean, when vegetation came out of the ocean and started to occupy the land for the first time. there was such an explosion of CO2 in the air that it actually sent everything into a deep freeze.
When plants started coming out?
Yes.
But that was like tens of thousands of years ago.
No. We're talking about millions and millions and millions of years ago.
So
Yes.
how do you know about that, though? Like, who documented that? How do you find that?
So scientists go and they look back at the fossil record by looking through the rocks, right? And they can see the fossils from all these different time prints, basically. Like the first one's called was it Ordovish? The Ordovician? I don't know. Card leg. So basically, during the 6 different extinction events, right? They look at the fossils from those different events, and all of it's right there in the rock record. Like, you know, you can see it in the layers. So that's how they get their ideas of how this actually happened, right?
That makes sense. I also think that, you know, I've been watching this movie. I've been watching this documentary by Michael Moore that just came out pretty recently. It's called Planet of the Humans.
Okay.
And I strongly suggest watching it. But it's basically, it basically illustrates that our planet is fucked. And it also kind of takes away a lot of the myths surrounding green energy.
Okay.
And it kind of goes into like the green energy movement, and it really highlights the fact that we're burning just as much, if not more, carbon, and we might be doing more harm to the environment through how we are utilizing green energy than we would be if we just were using oil.
How so?
So like take biofuels.
Okay.
Right, like you literally just have to destroy a bunch of trees to make biofuels.
Oh yeah. So okay. So you're talking about like fuels from corn.
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah,
That's bad.
Yeah,
idea.
or from like
terrible,
trees and stuff
terrible
to like
idea.
to power for power, or when you have like solar factories, right, or solar plants. A lot of times, these companies will undergo massive deforestation projects to build like a solar factory, or they'll be destroying like Joshua trees or 500-year-old plants and doing all types of environmental destruction to install a solar plant.
So you're talking about a solar array, like
the solar
large.
plants. Yeah.
Okay.
Or you know, whenever you have electric vehicles, in order to power the grid, in order to be able to power the grid, you're using coal and natural gas to actually power like the grid of an electric vehicle, or to supply electric vehicles with power. And you know, what do you need for coal? You're removing mountaintops to like produce coal, and you're using that same type of coal and those same types of natural gases, and you're using those same types of fossil fuels to power these renewable resources. And because they don't last as long, you may have to utilize more of that over time.
So I'm not sure I necessarily agree.
Maybe I'm explaining it wrong, but
no. Like, let me just give you like a home example for me, right?
Okay.
So my home is powered by solar. Okay.
Right.
I've got a number of solar panels on my roof where I'm able to zero out my energy bill every month, right? I'm still plugged into the grid because you have to be legally, but at least in the city. But I know that I am making the energy that I am using in my home, and I'm using the energy, or that I'm making the energy that my car goes off of. I have a Chevy Volt, right?
Okay.
So not 100% electric, like it's a hybrid, because it's old. It's like 2014, so it's like a 40 mile battery. But the thing is that a 40-mile battery gets you back and forth, you know.
Yeah.
And then my wife also has an electric vehicle, 2014 i3, right? That gets like 80 miles, right? But definitely gets her, you know, back and forth, you know, without issue. So
it's probably cheaper.
So yeah, absolutely.
Because like all you do is charge your vehicle when you get home.
Yeah, exactly.
What happens if you have to take like a 200-mile road trip or something like that?
So I mean, you know, you'd have to either plan it out, right? So you could. So like with a newer electric vehicle, right? That's not necessarily so much of an issue because the newer electric vehicles are charging up to 80% in 15 minutes. Like some of the newer vehicles that are coming out. So the tech on that stuff is just exploding. You're getting crazy. And I don't think that charging is going to be as nearly as big of an issue as it used to be.
We need to be more efficient with how we charge these vehicles, because if we're using coal and natural gas and like you're having to like dig through all these rare earth minerals and stuff like that
Sure.
to even get the battery for your vehicle, like that's destroying the planet. That's also destroying the planet, and you're not really solving the problem that you were going to solve. You're just creating a new problem.
So just today, actually, I saw there's solar chargers that are coming online. There's a company called Electrify America that I believe is backed by VW, and they're setting up a charging network throughout America. And one of the things they're doing is their chargers are being charged by a solar array.
Okay.
So basically, you're making the energy right there on the spot. So while I hear what you're saying with regards to we're using dirty energy sources to create
The illusion of clean energy.
Well, okay, so I don't think it's necessarily so much an illusion as it's just not there yet. And it takes a massive investment to be able to change.
But it's good that we're talking about that, because you can't let these people just say, hey, we're green now, or we're solar, and then meanwhile you're using the same plants that are owned by the Koch brothers. You know what I mean? Or like, does that make sense? Kind of.
Yeah, I mean,
like you're still using oil money, or you're looking at like one of the things in that movie that I saw. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
No.
But
go ahead.
I think it was like the 350. You've heard of like the 350 organization and like the Sierra Club and all that stuff, right?
Okay.
So the 350 organization.
Sierra Club for sure.
Yeah, 350 is another organization that is like very big on like the environment and the green movement and all that stuff. And if you look at like the holdings of what they're invested in,
Mm-hmm.
only like less than 1% of what they're invested in is even renewable energy. Like most of what they're invested in is like oil and mining and all types of harmful things to the environment, like this big major lobbying green energy activist firm or consulting group or whatever they are. Most of their investments are in like oil, gas, manufacturing, like the worst shit ever for the environment. So
Right.
It's like, if once you start looking into all that stuff, you got to wonder, like, are these people really trying to like protect the environment, or is this just another way to turn a profit? Like, what are they doing? Because I think climate change is real. I think that like we have some serious issues and concerns for our planet if we want to actually have a sustainable future.
Right.
But like, how do you do that? How do you actually do that? Aside from like just, being a lot more minimalistic.
So I kind of like to, I mean, definitely, I think that's part of it. I think, as our culture changes, like I have an 11-year-old daughter, and, I see that, how like, when we were kids, like I'm 43. So like when I was a kid, it was like we had physical toys, things like that. Whereas everything now that she has, is based
Digital.
in an online world, but also it's experience-based as opposed to being like physically, things-based. So I think that getting more minimal is actually is pretty easy to accomplish. I think, is if you can set aside having a bunch of physical shit, then I think minimalism is definitely achievable.
Yeah.
So I kind of want to get back to like the whole like the world is fucked.
Yeah. Sure, please.
Okay, so
keep it positive, Scotty.
No, man.
No,
Like
go ahead.
I mean, keep it real.
Yeah.
So with regards to like this planet, nature, it doesn't give a fuck about us. It doesn't care if we survive or not.
No.
And we definitely, in addition to moving to have better energy sources, cleaner energy sources, things like this, we also need to be taking proactive steps to protect ourselves from what's inevitably going to happen. Ocean level rise is obviously it's happening. Like, so we need to be able to look at. We're not very good, like we're reactionary. Human beings are just reactionary, right?
Yeah.
But like, we really need to be proactive about this and think about how we can defend ourselves from nature, as well as work with it at the same time.
So what do you mean? What can we do?
So, I mean, obviously, ocean level rise is a huge one, and I mean that's a massive engineering
Yeah, I mean,
problem.
and you're also going to create a big migrant problem too as a result of that.
Well, so climate change will, yes. Like say for instance, you have a place that was verdant and green, and now all of a sudden it's dead, right? Or the people are starving. Then yeah, you're absolutely going to have a huge migration issue. I think it'll pale in comparison to anything we've seen so far with regards to migration issues, especially when, like, say for instance, you're looking at an area that is continually getting worse with regards to sea level rise, like Bangladesh, right? Man, I mean, you're talking India, Bangladesh, that area. What's like 1 billion people? Like, what do you do with that?
Yeah.
What do you do with that? So, if you know this is coming, right? And you can think like 2-3 generations down the line, then we need to start being proactive about what we're doing to defend ourselves.
Sure, but Scotty, just to add to that, aren't China and India like the 2 world's biggest polluters?
So, yes and no. They are, but they're also moving very fast toward renewable energy.
Well, that's a good thing because they need to.
Yeah. They need to. Well,
because their way of doing manufacturing is like what we did in the 1940s and 50s.
Exactly.
And when we did that, when we were doing that, when we were like a manufacturing hub, and there's so many sides to this, right? Because on one side, it allowed everyday people with no college degree to have these really like to own a home, send their kids to college.
Yes.
Play golf, live like a life that their parents almost dreamed of, like that was considered something for rich people, and all of a sudden now everybody has access to comfort and prosperity.
Right.
The drawback is rivers are catching on fire because people dump cars in them, and like the pollution within our water supply and whatnot was just ridiculous. You know what I mean? So for lack of a better word, like it was horrifying.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so. Have you ever been to China?
No.
Okay, so
we're gonna segue.
Okay, yeah, cool. So I have. The first thing that I realized about China is it gave me an appreciation for what 1 billion people means. It's just something else to see that many people, moving around in a metropolis and just mega cities that are just there's just nothing on par with it in the States, right? In America.
Yeah, and I hope we never get to that point because I don't like the idea of living in a megacity is gross to me.
Yeah. So where was I going with this? Okay, but so here's the thing. Like when I was saying, the appreciation of 1 billion people, it's 1 billion people who all want a middle class life, who all want iPhones, who all want cars, who all want the same things that we have had, and we have had the luxury of attaining, and it's just like, how is this possible to sustain? I don't think it's possible to sustain everybody being able to, attain this lifestyle, right? Yeah. Not that they don't deserve it; they absolutely do. They deserve the same things that we do, but it's just frightening when you think about it.
Yeah. I think it's I think there's a big disconnect that a lot of us face in reality, and I think a lot of us think that we are, especially this younger generation, right? Maybe not so much yours because I'm a little bit younger than you.
Okay.
But like my generation and the generation like below mine and stuff like that.
Like Gen Z.
Yeah. I think like my entire generation has this problem where we think that we are like really good, righteous people when we are in fact the opposite. And I'm going to explain how, right?
Okay.
Because, like, in this world that we live in right now, because of all the stuff that we consume and because of all the stuff that we deplete from our planet and the way in which we destroy our environment every single day that we wake up in some capacity, like, nothing you could do could ever make yourself a good human being in a lot of aspects, right? And I think that, like, the best way to, like, get a healthy reconciliation of that is to just understand that just through my actions and through living on this planet and through consuming resources and through just being a human mammal on planet Earth, it is almost next to impossible to actually be a good person, right? When you really like get down into the nitty gritty.
Sure.
But that being said, like, once you understand that, I think you start being a better human being because you become like less self-indulgent. You know what I mean? You become less self-righteous. Like, you see things with a better perspective. Like, you understand the world around you. So if you see like, hey, someone else is struggling with how they're feeling in life, just do what you can to make this person feel better, or do what you can to make this person have a comfortable lifestyle, or do what you can to help your fellow human being in the moment, and try to see how we can keep our planet sustaining while doing that. And I think part of that is, if you're gonna consume things, make sure that there's a reason for consuming things.
Sure.
That's what I think. And it's just, I'm sorry if I'm on this rant, but like, I was off social media for a while, right?
Okay.
Like after the BLM protests, and all the COVID stuff, I was like, holy shit, this is so toxic. I'm getting off this. This is not helping me in any capacity. I'm alienating myself from people. Everyone's falling into these lines of extremism, which I think occurred from these lockdowns and whatnot, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, I also came to another realization, and it's that I don't want to be on social media unless I am bringing something extremely positive into the world. And so the big reason why I got back onto social media was because I tried to run for city council, and I had a whole bunch of, I think, positive, very actionable solutions, unlike the mayor stuff. And then the reason I continued staying on social media after I dropped out of my race to endorse a better candidate was this podcast. And because of everything I believe that this podcast represents in terms of trying to make sense of what's going on and trying to like come up with actionable ideas to help make the world a better place within the lens of reality. So that's kind of my take on that,
Okay. Yeah, man. You did get my vote, by the way, when you ran for mayor.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I mean, so are you looking at city council again?
I don't know, man. I honestly, I really don't know. I think there's a couple of paths I want to take, right, Scotty?
Okay.
So, on the one hand, I feel like I want to do mayor again in 2024 because A, I understand the city a lot more.
Okay.
B, I have a lot more real support now than I had in the past. People come up to me like, when are you going to run? Are you going to run? Are you going to... People are coming up to me and asking me to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I also, like, have an actual friend on the city council now.
Mm-hmm. Who's that?
Mackenzie Kelly.
Okay, cool.
Who's someone I actually consider my friend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm friends with Mackenzie Kelly. I'm not on, like, I don't think I'm on bad terms with any of the council members. I've been very critical of Mayor Adler because you're directly hurting my ability to make a living.
Right.
And it makes me feel based on your actions that you don't want me here.
Sure.
But I have no, like, I have no anger or dislike towards anybody. I think that they're, I'm going to say that they're doing their best. They're just on the wrong side of history, and they're not really sticking up. A lot of our council, they pretend to be progressive and care about working people when, in fact, they, are actively screwing us. And then the virtue signaling and the woke lecturing just makes me dislike them more. But from human to human, they're not bad people.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I got to meet
Natasha.
Yeah. Natasha Harper Madison.
I met Natasha. I got along with her great. I haven't talked to her in 2 years, but when I spoke with her, she was a nice lady. Like she was really cool when I talked to her.
Yeah. She's super down to earth. She seemed. I mean, she's had her struggles. She's raising kids. She's a real person, right? Who represents the district that she represents, which is cool. She actually lives there because they changed.
Well,
that, right?
actually, fun fact about that: she actually was living in Round Rock when she was running, and she like rented a house there or some shit like that. So.
You sure?
Yeah. I had a buddy tell me that who was running as like the at-large seat and stuff like that. So there's always some sketchy stuff about that.
Okay. All right.
Either way, I remember like she was responsive to you when you talked to her, right?
Yeah, very much so.
And that's
very
cool.
Much so.
Like she was like for a local official, if they're responsive to you when you talk to them, and they want to listen to you, you can't really get to you can that's all you can hope for,
Yeah.
In
absolutely.
a lot of ways. But we were talking about the mayor stuff, right? About me doing mayor.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so I think I could actually get like a pretty solid voter turnout. And I also, when I ran for city council, I got 5% of the vote this time in my district.
Nice.
And I got like 1,100 votes, and I got like $600 in contributions. So I got like 2 votes per dollar that was given to me. So like I think that if people actually gave me money to finance a campaign and hire people and like do ads and whatnot, I think that I like people like me enough, and I think that I represent Austin a lot better than anybody else in that city council. 100% believe that, right?
Okay.
And I'm able to talk to people on both sides of the political aisle. Like I had a dude from InfoWars come on right before you. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
So I'm all about trying to find like a healthy middle ground and listen to people and let people present their best selves. Like I've had InfoWars correspondents, I've had BLM protesters come talk to me, and I want to talk to everybody, and I'm not trying to be critical, and I want to be open-minded, you know?
Yeah,
so I think that's an important quality to like be a public official, right? But then at the same time, it's like I also look at this job, right? And I look at everything this job has done for me. You know, and this job allowed me to I got an amateur MMA fight as a result of it. I won. I would have had more. I had this hematoma. And then I still could do it if I wanted to, but I just started doing a lot more creative stuff instead. And that took, you know, more of a priority. And then I was able to make my rap songs, which I got a chance to play at the Stateside Theater, which is crazy. I got a chance to play my conspiracy woke rap songs, you know, at the Stateside Theater, opening for Eddie Bravo and Sam Tripoli.
Yeah.
I got a chance to try to be the mayor of Austin, and I got more media attention than every other candidate, excluding Mayor Adler.
Sure.
Without spending any money by myself.
Right.
And for some weird reason, people all liked it. Like everybody liked it. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely, I would be excited to see you, you know, like, not to say you didn't take a real shot at it last time, but like take a real shot at it.
I think I could do well. I could do
could.
very well.
I think you could.
Could I win? Who knows?
Yeah.
And at the same time, too, what if there's a candidate who is willing to listen to me and be on the same level as me? I don't want to take votes away from that person, you know? I don't want to be Elizabeth Warren on Super Tuesday. I don't want to do that. You know, it's about making Austin a better place, right? It's about making Austin like a place for people like me to live.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to hurt myself.
Yeah.
But what I was saying with the pedicab stuff, right?
Right. Yeah. How did you get into pedicabbing anyway?
I used to be a personal trainer in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, I didn't want to do personal training anymore. I didn't love, you know, at the end of the day, if you don't love fitness the way like Primal Soldier loves working out with the shirt off, then you shouldn't be in the fitness industry.
Right.
So that's the base. Or if you don't love it the way, you know, Gabe or Curtis or you know, Kyle love jiu-jitsu, you shouldn't be like it's about the same thing, right?
Yeah.
And so I got a job at like an after-school program, and I just figured I was really upset in New York and I need a new fresh start. So I got a job at an after-school program. It was like super part-time. I only got like $250 a week, but I was able to actually pay rent in like an apartment here. So I was like, you know what, I'm taking it. This is what's gonna happen. And then I was trying to find something else and just trying to keep an open mind to see if this is what I wanted to do. Because I didn't really like the after-school stuff. I just wanted to, you know, find something just so I could be in society, you know?
Right.
And then I went to this meeting about pedicabbing that I found on Craigslist, and it took a while for me to get like my paperwork and all that stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just did it. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to go give this a try and just be open-minded. And it was the fact that I came in here with like an open-minded, like, you know, vessel in a sense of, hey, man, I want a fresh start. I'm just going to try everything and just see what happens. I got nothing to lose.
Yeah,
and so I started in the winter of 2013.
Okay.
No, the December 2013, and then I like did the winter of 2014.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I didn't care that I was only making like $100 a night, you know, hustling, right? I didn't care. I was like, you know what, I'm still paying my bills. It's still money. Like, I was such a fuck up in New York that I was like, this is great. This is fine.
Yeah.
You know, like I still lived with my mom and dad before I moved to Austin. This is the first time I've ever experienced living on my own, is being in Austin, Texas. Like I never knew how to like live on my own and be a grown up and pay my own bills and do any of that stuff until I moved halfway across the country with no plan.
Same. Very much so.
Yeah.
Right after high school, El Paso. I grew up in El Paso, Texas.
Okay.
And that place back then was violent and dangerous, and also really not filled with any kind of opportunity at all. So people, they either jam out or, they end up dead or in jail or like, whatever, like, or whatever kind of.
Hey, were you there when Beto was city council member there?
No, but actually I was there when Beto was playing in bands. I watched Beto play.
Holy shit.
I watched his band like open up for shows, punk shows.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Like backyard punk shows. Yeah, El Paso's like, it's funny. Like El Paso's small. It's like there's not so much going on that you can't do everything, right? So you can go to like the dance party, but you can also go to the punk show, but you can also go, to whatever else is going on because there's just not that much going on. So you can kind of hit every scene. Yeah. But I really felt like the place had a chokehold on me because I had been there since I was born. And it was just time to go. So like right after I graduated, I jumped on a Greyhound and I went up to Boulder, Colorado, and I met up with some friends who basically gave it up immediately. Like they were like, yeah, we're gonna move up there. We're gonna do this thing, blah blah blah. And then like gave up after like 2 days and headed back to El Paso. And I was like, fuck that. I'm not going home. So I didn't really have a place to live. But I was able to score a job. I worked at McDonald's. I was the only person on the night shift who spoke English, which is really interesting. Like, because like basically I had to work the counter, right? But like I said, didn't really have a place to live, and I ended up like falling in with a bunch of other kids that were graffiti writers in Boulder, and we just kind of. Just like I was kind of like just like homeless in the park. Every once in a while, we would stay somewhere, shower up, that kind of thing. But I also had a job at the same time.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of crazy that you can have a job and you still can't afford rent.
Yeah,
like, that's fucking bananas. That shit is bananas too. Though
it wasn't necessarily that I couldn't afford rent. It was that I didn't really understand exactly how to do all that. I was 18. You know what I mean?
You never like knew how to like look for
Nah, yeah. I mean, and it also it really wasn't like my main concern at that point. I was just trying to like get out there and live some life. But yeah, that was like the first time like I jetted from home. And it kind of like sparked a need to travel pretty much nonstop for quite a long time. So from there, ended up coming out here actually. And I was here in the 90s. I got here in 97. And one of the first things I did is I went to I'm a big hip hop fan. So the first thing I did is I went to a show with this group called the Freestyle Fellowship from Los Angeles. Manny plays a lot of their stuff. If you ever go up north, you'll hear a lot of Freestyle Fellowship stuff. But ended up walking into the show. It was this place called the Electric Lounge that used to be. Okay, you know where Whole Foods is downtown?
Yeah.
Okay, so you know those condos behind Whole Foods?
Yeah.
That used to be where there was a club called the Electric Lounge. There's legendary shows in that place. It like held capacity was like 300, but they would shove like 700 kids in there, and it was just bananas. So where was I going with this? Yeah, so like basically I was like I'm hooked. Like Austin is amazing. Right?
Oh yeah.
And it was just a whole kind of different vibe. It was, just a small little college town. I remember like, somebody would call you up and be like, hey, you want to come hang out? And if they were across town, it would take you 5 minutes to get there.
You ever been to Hot Springs, Arkansas?
Hot Springs,
Arkansas.
Hot Springs, Arkansas. No.
Dude, that place is a shit. That's like a little mini Austin from like 30 years. I felt like I went back in a time machine when I went there.
Is it is it college town?
No, it's just like a little vacation like town, like an hour from Little Rock and stuff like that. Like all like the New York City gangsters used to go there in the 1920s to get like away from shit.
Really?
Yeah, it's a pretty remarkable little place.
Sounds like Ozark or something.
Yeah.
But
anyway, keep going. I didn't mean to.
Oh no, it's okay. So like I really got hooked Austin, and I started I fell in with the guys that actually the ones that did that show that night, the Freestyle Fellowship show. It was promoted by a crew called Hip Hop Mecca, and I started working with those guys, just passing out flyers and just and just doing kind of grunt work to start off with, and also filming the shows. And through the fall, like we ended up doing shows with like MOP, Mixmaster Mike, Latyrix, like all these like underground groups that were really big at the time, Hieroglyphics, Living Legends. And by the end of the year, so like going into 98, going into 99, 98 going into 99, I had become like a member of the crew officially.
All right.
And basically that was my life from then on out. I was just promoting hip hop shows and and putting them together.
That's pretty cool though. So what do you do now?
So what I do now?
Yeah.
Now I am in education, believe it or not.
Well, you do like education software, something like that?
Yeah, I'm an LMS administrator. So basically, if you've ever taken an online class, the forum or the portal that you use to do the online class, that's pretty much what I run.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But so you're asking me like what I want to do about mayor stuff, right?
Sure.
And so what I was trying to get to is the fact that like this job has been really good to me, right? Like a lot of really cool stuff. I've been able to do a lot of really cool things throughout the time of being a pedicab driver, And I have this podcast, and I've interviewed some pretty influential people so far from it, and like where I'm at, like from a financial standpoint, is like so much better. Just as, not just from pedicabbing, but just from like talking to people, making like decent investments with what little I had and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
Being able to buy Bitcoin during this year, I had, so just kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Helped me out a lot. And there's going to come a point very soon where it's like, hey, man, you might not be like an underdog anymore. Eventually, like, you're going to be at the big boy. Eventually, you're like, you're not just a pedicab driver.
You're at the big kids table.
Yeah, you're at the big boy table soon, right? Like,
yeah.
You're not just a pedicab driver. You're a lot more than that.
Yeah.
Even though everything you do happens to be centered around you driving this pedicab, you're not really a pedicab driver. You're something way bigger than that right now. And that's where it started to mushroom. And this is not me tooting my horn at all. This is me saying that there might come a point in time where I want to own my own pedicab or own like 2 or 3 pedicabs so that other people can get the same opportunity that I got.
Sure. I mean, it seems like it's the natural.
That just seems like that might seem like what I should be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And if mayor happens, hey man, that's cool. But you're ultimately doing it because you love Austin and you want Austin to stay an amazing city.
Yeah.
It's not like I want to do it just so I can get my name in the newspaper or get like attention on social media. Like that's fucking retarded. Like I don't need that stuff.
Yeah.
If you're gonna put something out there, make it so that it's positive for the human race, especially with all the stuff with COVID. It's reshaped how I think about that stuff.
For sure.
But there's so many guys at the gym like Christian. Like some
Kupski?
No, not Kupski.
Which one?
Ammons.
Okay. Yeah.
The MMA fighter. These 20-year-old.
Yeah. I know exactly.
I haven't even seen Kupski in forever.
He's around. He's training the gi a lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I never see him.
Yeah. He's around.
But like Christian Ammons, you know what I mean? And there's like a couple of other people. Or Kate, right? Because they're both like young kids. Or Jacob Norton.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, them getting on a pedicab would do like wonders for them. Friday and Saturday would be like, I'd be helping them out like tremendously in terms of helping them with their careers.
Yeah.
Or like if I was substitute teaching, right? Or if I was a school teacher and I was like at LBJ or something like that, some kid that graduated high school with no real plan, maybe comes from a broken home or maybe doesn't like really know what to do, can't afford college or whatever. I'm like, hey man, I got this pedicab that you can lease from me and you can make a few $100s a night. And you get to meet a lot of interesting new people, and you get to you can take some money and you can start investing some of that money because you're still a kid and you live at home with your mom and dad, and there's no real pressure on you and you're young, and like
right.
I could be using this position to like irreparably change people's lives
for sure,
for like a really good cause, which is what this job has done to me. So maybe like paying it forward, using pedicabbing to pay it forward for somebody else who could be the next me.
Yeah.
next Alex Stringer, or be, or even if it's not like on that level, it's just I could use what I've done to help somebody else, like maybe get to a point where they can own their own house, or help somebody get to a point where they can pay for college on their own without taking out a loan, or I could help somebody all of a sudden start accumulating passive income. I could help somebody, be able to attain a degree of financial freedom, or be exposed to a diverse community that's super positive and accepting. Like I could help like some young kid maybe like date a lot of pretty girls that he otherwise never would have. Like there's a lot of cool things I could do with this. And so like I've been really thinking that might be the next step for me, because that just seems like what the next logical progression would be to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you like, you understand the business from the ground up, like you've been out there.
I've been out there for for over 7 years.
Yeah. And
I love this job like Primal Soldier loves working out with his shirt off.
For sure.
Like I love giving rides to drunk people. I love giving rides to drunk people. Like this is the only job I've ever been good at. And I'm just like some kind of autistic savant with it, but I'm really good at this job.
Yeah.
And I'm really blessed about it. And ultimately the next step has got to be to help other people get the same fulfillment from this job, or at the very least help some kid pay for school, or help somebody do something positive with their life through pedicabbing. So that might be like my next step.
That's one of the things that like kind of kind of sparked my interest in education. Got there in a really weird roundabout way, but it's really cool when you see somebody take advantage of the opportunity they have in front of them and actually, progress in their lives. And you were able to help facilitate that, or, you were a piece of that, that feels good. That feels good. And not necessarily just from the teaching end of things, but, everything. I mean, basically my job's IT at this point. But
I'm friends with a sitting city council member, and I ride this little tricycle for a living. Like,
sure,
that's crazy. Like, that's bananas.
Yeah.
And like, why can't I use this platform as a way to help somebody else who could have been lost who could have been lost in life, that might have a sense of purpose now?
Right. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, or at the very least, you help like Jacob Norton get some pocket cash while he's training like 6 times a day, right? Or
yeah. That kid's got his eye on the prize, man.
Yeah, like why not use that as a vessel to help people, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, we got about 10 minutes. Let's talk about your travels, dude. You've been to some crazy places.
Yeah.
We're pivoting.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Let's pivot. Yeah, I've been to 22 countries and 49 states.
All right, let's talk about. I want to talk about your trip to North Korea. You went to North Korea.
I did. I went to North Korea.
Shit, I want to hear about that.
Okay. Okay, so the reason that I was in China was that's the only way to get in, obviously, right? To North Korea. And the way it happened is a couple of friends of ours who ended up not going, they chickened out.
I would probably chicken out. I'm not going there. Fuck that, dude. I'm not going
there. So we went in 2016. It was right after the Otto Warmbier thing had happened. Tensions were kind of high. But we went there, me and my wife, Natasha, we went there to run the Pyongyang Marathon. We were, my wife runs marathons. She's a beast at it. She's like 10 under her belt now. And she was just kind of getting me into it. We were training for the Chicago, I think. Maybe. I don't know. But anyway, so we decided to just run a 10K of the marathon because the marathon was basically 2 laps around the same track or the same area of Pyongyang. So we just did the 10K. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I could just kind of start from the beginning. You fly in, it's pretty crazy. You get onto like an old Russian jetliner, and immediately, all of the stewardesses have the pins that have Kim Jong Un. No, sorry, not Kim Jong Un. Kim Jong Il and Kim Il Sung on them. They all have that. And as soon as you fly over, you get over North Korea, and you look down, and it's completely dark. I mean, there's no light whatsoever. All the way until you get to the airport, there's one strip lit up. You're the only plane there. You're the only plane that's coming in at all.
But I'm surprised that they let people from outside the country to even run that marathon.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing is they, it used to be, I think Trump shut it down after the 1B Air thing. You can't go as an American anymore, which sucks.
Yeah, so sad that I can't go to North Korea.
I mean, man,
sounds horrible. But keep going.
So you get in there. The first thing they ask you when you go up to the border check is, "Have you been here before?" Which I thought was hilarious. I was like, no, I haven't been here before. But they're like, welcome to DPRK. You go, they stamp your. They actually don't have stamps on your passport. They have a piece of paper that they give you when you go in with your picture on it, and then they take it back when you leave. So you actually don't have like any stamp in your passport that says the DPRK, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So next you go to security. They immediately ask you to take out your phone. They go through every picture on your phone. Which surprisingly, actually, I just heard that now a court ruling just said that they can do that at the U.S. border too. As of today, that was ruled on today.
They can just go through all your phone pictures?
They can go through everything on your phone, and they can copy everything on your phone, and they don't need a warrant to do it.
Wait, pictures or data or what?
Everything.
So I'm just gonna delete all your apps before you go anywhere.
So exactly. So that's what I did, right? So anything that was on my phone that even could be construed to be anything that you don't want to go into North Korea with, right? So anything that looks like pornography, anything that's critical of the North Korean government, anything like that, you just want to get rid of all that stuff. So I just basically wiped my phone entirely before I went. So the only thing that was on there was our pictures from China, vacation pictures. So you just flip through everything or whatever, hands me my phone back, and then I have my Kindle with me as well. It was locked. I had to unlock that. They looked at my books, but I had cleared all that stuff off too. That was kind of crazy too, because they actually took me over to the electronics expert guy, and there was another guy who had the old school, the old school laptops that have the little button mouse in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the guy, the North Korean guy, he was like poking at the screen because he thought that it had to be touch screen or whatever, and he was like, it's fine. He just closes it and puts it away. So after you get everybody through, there were I don't know how many of us were there for the marathon. I want to say it was 400, something like that. Mostly English expats who live in China. But after you get everybody kind of processed and through, it's a couple of hours. It's 5 a.m. by that point. And they get you onto the bus. And the first thing they do after they get you on the bus is they take your passport. And they do it to everybody. They take everybody's passport. And it's shit. Okay. I mean, what are you going to do anyway? You're already in the country, right? But they're okay, so even though it's 5 a.m. and you basically have been on a red eye from China, it doesn't take that long to get there. It's 3 hours, whatever. But you've gotten in there at 5 a.m. They're okay, we've got 20 minutes to go upstairs, drop your stuff, and then we're going to go to the DMZ. So you're oh, okay. So you have maybe, a couple of minutes to grab breakfast. They get you back on the bus, And while you're all kind of tired and dazed or whatever, they take you down to the DMZ, which is the border with
the North and South Korea.
North and South Korea. And what's kind of crazy about that is that they you can drink, you can yell, you can point, you can do all that stuff. Where like on the South Korean side, from what I hear, I haven't been there, but from what I hear, you have to keep your hands down to your side. You can't say anything. Like you can't you can't make any kind of provocative gesture. You can't do anything like that on the South Korean side, because basically they're afraid that you'll start some sort of conflict or whatever,
so
right?
North Korea just talks
but
about
North
shit
Korea
constantly?
does not give a fuck. They just like, fuck you, blah, 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 whatever. Like you can do whatever you want to do, like to the South Korean side. It's really crazy.
What? And then so you were just witnessing all that?
Yeah.
Are they throwing stuff at them, or is it just
No.
They're just yelling
Nobody's
and cursing and
throwing anything. They're just waving and just being like how you would usually be, right? Whereas opposed to the South Korean side is like just very rigid.
It's gonna be like the worst job ever, just guarding the DMZ. Like you just sit there all tense constantly.
It's pretty wild because the way it is they have it's like a concrete divider right down the middle. It's open, right? And there's around this there's the South Korean guards right here and right here, North Korean guards right here and right here, and then there's another one centered back here. And the reason why is because you need somebody to watch both of them to make sure nobody runs across the border to escape.
So they're monitoring the North Koreans to make
Yes.
sure they don't.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah,
so-
it gets to be that happened actually like what was that, maybe like a couple years ago. That dude like just booked it across the border. They shot at him. They shot him actually. As he was heading to South Korea, but he was able to jump over a wall, and the South Koreans were able to get him and pull him out.
Did he escape, or did they bring him back to North Korea?
No, he escaped. He had like a giant parasite in his stomach. They were like, we've never seen anything like this before.
Did he live, or did he?
Yeah, he lived.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
So, all right. So after that, they take you to this place. It's basically where they signed the armistice agreement between the UN and North Korea.
So you got a big propaganda tour, pretty much.
Oh, huge! That's all it is.
You got okay. All right.
Yeah. That's all it is. But you know that going in.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's gonna be. Yeah. So they show you where they signed the armistice agreement, and they're like, this is where we beat the imperialists and all that kind of stuff, and like they actually have it like in the glass case.
And what do they actually call it? Because we call it the Korean War. What did they call it?
They call it the U.S. War of Aggression. Yes, they call it the U.S. War.
The
of
U.S.
Aggression.
War.
Yeah. So, so you go there, and they basically, everything is, the art style of like the kind of the propaganda art style of North Korea.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff. I love it personally. The style of art is amazing. He was actually able to get posters.
What?
Yeah, I have two.
Dude, you got to show them to me one day.
Yeah, for sure.
You have to show them to me.
Yeah, just come to my house. They're up there.
I would love to.
But anyway, so then you get back on the bus. They take you back, and you just go to a whole bunch of different places. We went to like the birthplace of Kim Il Sung, and we saw that. Basically, it's just like it's kind of like the Jesus story.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You went to a village or something.
That's how they like basically like the sky parted and there was like there was a rainbow and all this kind of stuff like
the day he was born.
Yeah. I mean that's what they have a whole story.
I want to hear the story.
It.
I think before we wrap up, I really want to hear the story about how Kim Il Sung, the great leader of North Korea, came to be.
Yeah. So I mean if you've heard this the glorified story of Jesus is like kind of the same thing, it's just basically a cult of personality. So they take you there.
I mean, and people really believe that shit, though, right?
So that's the thing. That's the thing that you kind of come to realize is that you have a whole bunch of people who kind of know it's bullshit, but they can't say anything. They can't say they're not allowed to like say, oh, this is bullshit, or I don't believe in this, or whatever, and they won't even talk to you. Like North Korean people, if they're not like on the tour. We had 2 guides who were with us at all times.
Were they talking?
Pak and Han, constantly.
What?
Yeah, we talked to them all the time.
Do you have to be very careful what you said?
They were yes.
Oh yeah.
Extremely. So our guides before we left Shanghai, they were like, "Oh, you're American? Just watch the rules. Don't do anything stupid. You'll be fine." And we're like, "All right, cool." But then there were like 2 guys from Finland or whatever we were at a military installation, and the one thing they say is do not take pictures of the military.
Oh, when they took the pictures,
they were taking pictures left and right.
So what happened?
Like they blew a whistle, and they came over to them, and they were like, ah! They got in their face and started screaming on them. But if that had been us, we'd still be in fucking jail, man.
So they let the people from Finland go?
Yeah,
but not
that's the thing. Is like
they just don't like Americans.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yes. So they understand that they have to be, like, they're going to be lenient with people who aren't Americans because they want them to come back to their country. They want to get that little bit of tourism base, right? And I mean it's a source of income.
But not America.
But
they're like, fuck America.
Well, no, it's just that if you happen to be an American who fucked up, like say for instance that kid Otto von Warbier or whatever, right? That kid was drunk, stumbling around a hotel at 5 a.m. and stealing a fucking poster off the wall and trying to smuggle it out of the country.
What the fuck is wrong with this kid?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, and he paid the price for it. It's crazy because like the North Koreans.
What did they do?
Well, the North Koreans said that he died of botulism.
What the fuck is botulism?
So botulism is when you have like canned foods and you got like kind of like pop and like the gas gets in there or whatever. Like you can develop like I believe it's a bacteria.
Okay.
And if you
that's pretty bad if that's the food supply there.
If you eat that food, oh god, that's the tip of the iceberg. That's the good stuff. However, I will say that the food in North Korea was really good.
What?
Yeah, the food they fed us was really good. It was funny though, because like some of the expats started talking shit on the food, and our guides were like, "Shut the fuck up! Like, don't say that shit because these people who are feeding you probably haven't eaten in days, and you're getting the best of what they have to offer."
Some people they don't even eat, right?
I mean, yes, they eat. They have their rations. It's a communist system, right? So, however the food is doled out, but everything's fucked up, right? They've been under sanctions for ever.
Yeah, so like only the ultra rich are like Kim Jong-un and those people are like super rich and everyone else is just getting rations.
So it depends, right? So mostly what we saw was Pyongyang. We saw the city, the main city, and we saw the DMZ and the drives between there and stuff like that. From what our guides told us, when you get out into the country and out in the small villages, that's when shit gets really weird and fucked up. We really get to see a lot of that. But you do see people like on their bikes, like scrolling down the street, and they have like a earpiece in and a cell phone. So there is like a whole kind of like black market there that people look the other way. They call the stuff that comes in from China. So it's weird, it's like nothing is exactly how you thought it was going to be, but it was a surreal experience. What else we get to do?
We got like 2 minutes. We got to get the 2 minute.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, it's because Charlie's got to go. So we got to get this.
Sorry, Charlie, I'm going to keep you.
Yeah. Yeah, but like. People in the villages really thought he was like they believed all that shit. Like people in the villages probably believe that more than the people in the cities, right?
I mean, once again,
because you were telling me that they all thought he was God.
It's not. So that's the government story, right? That's the official line. But I think people know it's bullshit, but they're so afraid of being sold out by their neighbor or their family members or whatever because they can possibly get ahead, they can possibly get food, they can possibly get something for turning you in.
Yeah.
Right? So, they have every...
They just don't say anything.
They have every motivation to keep that to themselves.
Got it. And hopefully, us as a country, we never get down that path.
God, man, no.
I think that's more of like a right-wing fear tactic, honestly. But I think it's a fear tactic that we should be definitely keeping in our back pocket, especially in light of what's happened with COVID.
Yeah. You're saying like with regards to the lockdowns and things like that?
Yeah. I think when it's like, oh, yeah, look, they're going to try to put us in re-education camps. And like you see some of the stuff that AOC's posted that kind of sounds like, maybe like if she had a little bit more power and if like some of our like liberal senators and congressmen and governors or whatever were a little bit more unhinged, that could definitely happen. But with the way things are, it does seem like it's more fear mongering, and sometimes like people say things and they get carried away because they're young and they have social media constantly, and they're like, oh shit, I should not have said it. That was really stupid. Yeah. And then that could be a thing too. But like, the fact is, we definitely need to keep that in our back pocket as a result of COVID. I don't think it's like as scary as I thought it may have been when we started doing these lockdowns, but we got to keep that in our back pocket because you don't want to turn into a communist country, because despite the intentions, that's what it winds up being, is you get rations while the rich are controlling everything.
Yeah, I mean, I wish the emphasis was more on health, and more on basically getting out the word that, if you take care of yourself, you're going to have a better, armed immune system and be able to handle this better.
Fight this virus. It's like, dude, everyone in our gym got COVID.
Like, you just don't hear shit about
Scotty,
that.
Everybody in our gym got COVID. Nobody got sick. That's what that's kind of what happened. Like almost everybody got COVID. Nobody got sick.
Yeah.
And then that's the narrative. You got to take care of your body. You got to treat yourself right. You got to eat right. You got to exercise. You got to we got to do a better job of providing healthy food to people in bad neighborhoods.
For sure. Food deserts.
Yeah, we got to do a much better job of that. We got to do a much better job of teaching people like financial literacy, so they can like, this is the biggest money making opportunity of our lifetimes, but a lot of people didn't understand that, and it's just going to create more inequality. And I think we also need to do a much better job of actually taking care of our environment. And if we're having lockdowns and we're like arguing and the way in which they did these lockdowns, we need to cooperatively talk to each other in order to accomplish this stuff and create a better world as a result of this. Because you're going to get a new world order from this pandemic. All great events create a new world order, and it's got to be a pro-human new world order instead of like a technocracy or mini fascism or real or actual fascism. So it's like when you do these lockdowns and you have everybody like just at home arguing with each other on the computer, it creates like this environment of like distrust for your neighbor. And when we're distrusting our own neighbor more than we're distrusting like some of these other forces around us, that's how you get fascism, and we got to be careful about that.
Sure.
But anyway, Scotty, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, man.
It's been an all-new episode of Convos on the Pedicab. Really appreciate having you, man. This is, I think, this is a good talk,
Awesome, yeah. Thank you for having me.
All right, thank you. All right.